The investigation continues into whatever Diddy may or may not have been involved in. We haven't seen any arrests as of yet. He's, of course, innocent until proven guilty, but we're hearing more people come out and talk about Diddy's bad behavior. A new documentary from TMZ out called The Downfall of Diddy. It's actually the name of one of our podcasts as well,
Mhm.
that really goes into talking about some folks who had intimate relations with Diddy in that sense and in the working sense as well. And you hear several voices that it's interesting, especially the man who was arrested briefly, house sitting at one of his properties. He's in this documentary, and he kind of toes the line a little bit of, well, I never heard about this, I never heard about that, but kind of makes you think there may be more that he doesn't know about as well. Joining me to discuss, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. It's a bizarre thing. You hear some of these voices over here that are kind of against him or kind of for him, but you're not seeing a lot of people standing up and saying, no way in hell. There's no way that he could have been involved in any of this. And he has, everybody was his buddy for a while, at least on the surface, it seemed.
Silence is deafening.
Yeah.
And these are telling things. We've talked about this with every single case, including the Daybell case that we're
Hmm.
just talking about. I think when you look at who stands with you or who doesn't stand with you, and who is rallying behind you or who isn't rallying behind you, tells you a lot about the individual and human being you are. And in this case, we're seeing a lot of silence, which says that people either don't like you or afraid of you, afraid of any relationship to you. I mean, there's a lot of things that could cause that. But here's one thing that there's not: healthy relationships.
Hmm.
Because if you had healthy relationships with anyone, they'd be with you.
Yeah.
Since we're not seeing that, we're seeing what? A lot of unhealthy. And so when you're now doing an investigation, the first thing I do when I do any investigation, whether it's in the world of recruiting spies or in the world of true crime, the first thing I do is I try to figure out where is the unhealthy at,
Hmm.
because that's the smoke.
Yeah.
Now, when we have smoke, that we're going to look, so where's the fire that's causing the smoke? What's happening here is in this kind of situation is there's smoke everywhere.
Hmm.
That's why there's no arrest. Arrest is the fire. And so they're trying to figure out in a vast landscape of smoke, because that's what we're seeing, which because smoke is caused by what? Smoke is caused by unhealthy relationships. They're trying to figure out where is the heart of the fire that's causing all this smoke. And that takes time. And especially if you're doing charges like human trafficking, as we've said before, there's a lot of tendrils that you want to make sure you go down, because you want to root out the core of that,
Hmm.
because that will ultimately, put Diddy and his friends or whatever they may or may not have done aside. What you really want to do in these situations is save lives.
Hmm.
And if you have human trafficking going on, we need to save those lives. And being at the root core of that, like, to me, Diddy and anyone else is a part of that, but we got to get down to the core, because if we're
Hmm.
going to save lives, women and children from being trafficked and mistreated in any way internationally, because these things can go huge tendrils, that takes time, because I think there's a lot of smoke here in a lot of different areas.
I think one of the big things that we want to find out is is Diddy like the head of some of this, or was he a patron, if you will, of sex traffickers? Of yeah, I'll take him here, and use the services of. Or was he actually involved in moving people around in doing these sort of things? I don't know how deep do you think this might go with him? Is he just one piece of a much bigger investigation that's going on here, and obviously with his notoriety, he becomes the star of it.
I think he's a piece in the investigation. I think what takes time is to figure out who actually was witting of what was going on.
Hmm.
I think, in cases like this, as we've said before, like in my time in the Marine Corps, when you insinuate what you want to have happen, you have your staff NCOs. As an officer, you have your staff NCOs just magically make things happen,
Hmm.
and you never know, and you have plausible deniability, because they just happen.
Hmm.
What happens is there's at least one person, if not multiples, that's what we're trying to identify, that is the fire, that was completely witting of what was transpiring, and that one person or small group of cabal of people are the ones they're searching for, because they're the ones that gave plausible deniability to everyone.
Hmm.
Because in my mind, it's very doubtful people at the top that are the front man, for the big group of people, is the person that's winning,
Hmm.
because it's easy to take them down if they are, because they're the front man, they're the face. There's always someone that is at a deeper level, that is hidden, that's put away, that there's no trail to, that's obvious to anyone, including the person in front. Like, I guarantee you, I don't guarantee you, I would use that word, most likely, if you were to put someone at the forefront of this entire investigation, like Diddy or of any other person of notoriety, on a lie detector test, or someone that actually literally they could see you and know whether you're telling the truth and you're had veracity or not, he'd probably pass. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just guessing, just because they are very, very good over a period of time of creating plausible deniability in their own lives to
Hmm.
cover their tracks and those at that top level of the cabal. But right under there, there's someone who's very witty. I mean, just Giselle, from the Weinstein, not Weinstein, the what was his face? Epstein,
Epstein,
the
yes.
The
Yeah,
Epstein
yeah.
case.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
Yeah,
She was the winning participant.
yeah.
And then all these other figures, you can't quite get your fingers on them. Why?
Hmm.
Because we had plausible deniability, because we had one person that was making all this happen.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're looking for that right now. Either they know who it is, they're searching for, or there might be multiples.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with sex trafficking, if that's the charges that'll eventually come out, which it sounds like, I think it is, that it's going to take a while to figure it out, because they might not even be domestic here. So there's also then the law enforcement collaboration overseas side. So you're
Hmm.
going to be working with other law enforcement agencies around the world, because when you deal with sex trafficking, it doesn't just get trafficked internally to the United States. We're talking from overseas,
Hmm.
especially if you're a type of person, when you have the type of money that has jets that can go all over the place, avoid immigration, and go through your own terminals and all these things. That's a lot of coordination that needs to take place. And so that's why, to some optics, it might look like this is being slow walked, or what's going on. How come we don't know more? Well, because they're looking for those witting people across the world.
Hmm. Hundreds of cameras seized, and God knows, what is on those tapes and those hard drives. Uh, and going back to kind of one of the initial things we talked about, nobody talking. You're not hearing a lot of people go against him. You're not hearing a lot of people being for him. I mean, there are some that we've heard against, but you're not hearing. It's just the silence. It's the silence,
Yes.
and it makes me wonder, why wouldn't you have more people speaking against this? Or is it because there's going to be a lot of people also taken down with this if they were participating in some of this bad behavior that they were under the illusion of, that they were untouchable for a period of time?
People, I think, are afraid to destroy their own personal brands.
Yeah.
Because he had a lot of parties, a lot of get togethers. There's a lot of people taking photos and pictures, and all these other people, probably a lot of good people that had a lot of good intentions, probably did nothing wrong. But
Hmm.
if you're photographed with someone that they unwittingly they didn't know was traffic, that's actually at the party, and they get snapping a photograph with,
Hmm.
their reputation is now destroyed. What did you know? I mean, so the whole thing's coming at them. So because no one knows if they're involved, they're just being silent, because they have I think that they have no idea whether they're involved or not. They
Yeah.
know they were at Diddy's place. At some
Hmm.
point in the lifespan of their lives, they were at his place. And they don't know whether they were around anyone that they shouldn't have been around, they're photographed or not. So I think that's part of why people are scared, because if they had any association at all with him, if they were at any of these functions or get-togethers with him at his place, where they didn't have control over
Hmm.
photographs, videos, or all this, they have no idea whether they're involved or not. So I think that's why. I think there's a lot of fear going on right now.
I wonder if this will be another kind of reckoning moment for, Hollywood and the elites and everything that, would have been at Diddy's party. Obviously, we saw Weinstein and Epstein and all of those things went down. But is this going to create, a culture of a little more caution when going to some of these super elite type parties where there's bad behavior that's going on. And even if you're not participating in it, just being around it, being near it, knowing that, maybe this person's pretty insulated right now, but look how quickly one can go down that no one ever thought would go down.
For a period of time.
Yeah,
History repeats.
that's true.
The interesting thing about power corrupts absolutely. And so for a period of time, I think people will have really good behavior. I think people, well, they'll have better behavior, I should say.
Hmm.
And they'll, because there's going to be a reckoning, there's a lot of fear. But as new people emerge and they start being surrounded by a lot of groupthink, they get surrounded by a lot of people that are validating them. They start feeling insulated. They start feeling above everything because that's what starts happening again. It starts that same track record again. It's
Yeah,
very difficult. I mean, when have we not seen this happen in history?
that's true. And this will slowly fade into the dark halls of history, and people Diddy who,
Well,
and then yep,
and then we're on to the next one.
yep. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.